Hey, hey, welcome to this episode of the Movement Mentality Podcast. You know who I am. I have my friend Andrew here, and I'm really excited to bring him on because we share a very similar view on movement and we just honestly get along really well. We don't even know each other, but we don't know each other that well, but we get along really well. And Andrew, I don't know why, I just like you. Some people
Yeah, I get that a lot.
you just you just like. Um, so I wanted to bring you on, introduce you to my community, and allow you to have a space and a safe platform to share your story. And we'd love to learn about you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Missy. It's nice to be face to face, virtually, if not in person. This is fun.
It is fun. Thank you
So,
for being
to
here.
your point for like what you just said about not knowing someone in energy, I left a session with a client this morning. He's 84. I adore him. Um, he's he's my dad's age, but he's like my grandfather. He is the one client who I like hug goodbye. We were having that conversation at the end of our session, just sitting and talking about how there are just certain people that we gravitate to. Their energy is just palpable. You can feel it. And he was telling me a story about when he was in the army, and his sergeant, ornery son of a gun, would come and find him and say, hey Henry, can I talk to you about something? Like, he was the one that people went to. And like, this is an environment where your superiors don't go to the underlings. Like, he came to Henry and was like, hey, you got a minute? And he's like, I think this is the guy that I can trust. Right. And I think he sees that in me. I see that in him, which is kind of like why we kind of vibe together. And I kind of feel like that's how we got vibey, because we do kind of have some crossover community stuff, and I think when we first connected, I feel like I was watching your stuff online. You were building, and you had offered an explanation to someone just out of the goodness of your heart. Like, someone had asked a question and you answered the question, and someone came in your comments was like meh, 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 and gave you all sorts of noise. And I kind of like came back and was like, hang on a cotton picking second, sir. Like, she doesn't have to provide you anything for anything. She's doing you a service. So back the truck up. And I think that's where we started to be like, we might be sort of similar kinds of nuts.
Oh, that's how I remember that. Now
Yeah.
that you're describing it, that is what happened. Thank you for having my back.
It was just ridiculous. But I think like you did a podcast on that about when you get kind of negative comments on your stuff, because people have nothing better to do, apparently, than exercise their forefingers. It's crazy. It's crazy. Because for service-based people, which many of us are, that's why we're here. It's why we do what we do. We want to make people feel better because it makes us feel better to make other people feel better. And someone wants to come along and like piss in our Cheerios. Um, you know, all of that, to anybody who's putting your stuff out and following Missy's rules and being consistent and staying true to what you do, none of that hate matters. Only that, like, you can't say the wrong thing to the right people. So whatever you put out, it will reach your audience. And the people who are coming back at you, that's not your audience. And, you don't really owe them anything. It's easy to get bogged down in it because, it's like getting all A's and a C. It's like, God, I got a C. Like, okay, but you got 5 A's. Put the C over here. It doesn't matter. Read all the A comments. It's like, you're good. You're good. That's like, and as like, I would say, if you have an opportunity, if you are posting and you have people that come in with like positive comments or thank you so much for that, or like screenshot it, take a picture of it, put it in your phone, make a whole like folder in your phone of all that stuff that people were like, that was so great, that changed my life, that made me have a head, you know, that was like. And then when somebody comes in and says, you know what, you don't think you know anything, and I have one follower and it's my dog, like you can go to your folder, open that up and be like, look, what I'm doing has value. All of these people who have equally no real reason to come to you and say, hey, that was great, are still giving you compliments. They are still paying homage to you and what you're putting forth. It just, it makes things easier to me. It definitely made things easier to me. I had dealt with the same. I mean, for the longest time, I was not super interested in Instagram. I was kind of like trundling along, I don't know, 900 something followers, trying to figure out what this Instagram thing was. I'll put some exercise videos out there on me lifting something, me doing some exercise demonstration, blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I posted one video about knee pain. And suddenly it was like, woo, here we go. And like it went bananas. And I was like, well, who knew how so many people had knee pain? So I got the same balance. There was like a ton of really, really great, like thank you, positive, a lot of questions, which I love to answer questions. And then there were, you know, every so often like, this is horse pucky, you know, like you know what you're talking about. And it's like, maybe, but the other 44 people who commented today said thank you, so I'm just gonna listen to them. But thanks and have a nice day. Because part of us, you know, part of us wants to be like, all right, Bucky, let's go.
Let's throw down.
Let's throw down. Let's see who
Yeah.
knows what. But why? Why?
Yeah. You know, it's so cool that you brought this up just on how we became friends because at that time, I want to say let's go with 2 years ago or maybe it was less.
So it was like in July of 23.
Okay, so less. Yeah, so let's say so a year and a half ago is when I kind of started to like really grow and it was from that I know the exact reel you're talking about. And what's interesting is that was me trying different types of posts and me trying to find my voice and trying to figure out how to be I'm already kind of what they, like call an edutainer or infotainer or something like someone called me something like that and I was like, I'll take it. I'm already that way naturally, but to convey it through a reel is a whole nother skill, right?
Yeah.
So someone taught me this technique and it's called a provocative reel, which is what that reel was, where you basically go, um, the only way to get beautiful triceps is with tricep kickbacks. And if you want a six pack, the only way to achieve that is with V ups 100 times a day. That's what I'm hearing online from a bunch of fitness professionals. And here's what I really believe. So you like open with this really controversial, like blanket statement
Bold
and
statement.
yeah, you're like, the only way to get a six pack is this, and then you're like, this is what I'm hearing online. And here's the truth about this. You have to do total body exercises to da da da, whatever, right? And you like, then you
Yeah.
share your actual viewpoint. And the algorithm loves it. It's a whole thing. I tried it that one time and I did not enjoy that experience at all. Um, but it taught me so much. I
Yeah.
mean, I learned so much from that where I'm sure I was texting you like, I don't know how to deal with this. I was so sensitive at the time because I just think everyone's my best friend and I can't even imagine someone being rude. Cuz to
Right.
me we're like when I'm on the internet I'm like, would I say this to you if we were out at coffee? And if I wouldn't, I don't say it, but that's not how other people think.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah. Right.
I reached out to you. I reached out to Dr. Perry, like bigger
Yeah.
accounts. I was like, I only have a couple thousand followers. Like I'm not used to this. And my friends with bigger accounts would be like, well, you better toughen up, sister, because it comes with the bigger numbers. And I was like, well, I don't want to get bigger then because I don't like this at all, you know. But a year and a half later, I can truly say it was me trying a different technique, and I can confidently say I do not like it. And it works for a lot of people, and it does get you a lot of followers. But also, my immunity now to that type of person,
Hmm.
I'm just so clear, yeah, at where they are at in their life.
Right.
And my new technique is a block and a bless.
Yes.
And I literally just swipe, delete, block, and bless, and I smile and I bless them.
Love that.
And it it's made my life so much easier. I read it and then I laugh and I block them and it's just and then I move on and care about the other 3,000 comments that are like, "You just changed
Yes.
my life," and, so, um, thank you for that awesome reminder, and this does kinda go back to when you're trying to find your voice online, you do have to take risks, and you do have to try stuff, and here's the thing, it did get me, like, 20,000 followers, so it was awesome, but it came with a cost, and so
Yeah.
does everything.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I actually don't really get comments like that anymore because I post the way I want to, and I'm no longer searching for how. I'm like, this is how I make reels because I've said so. But
Yeah.
at the time, I
Right.
didn't know how to crank them out. Um, so that brings us to you. So you had this cranky knees post, right? And just took off. And I was always like, wow, how did he do this? What are you selling? How much money are you making? So I'm super into the business stuff. And I'd get on Andrew like, build a program for these people. So we'll get to that later. But
We'll get to that later.
so yeah, we'll get to that later. Maybe not in this conversation in a
Right.
part two, but so tell me about you. So you have been in fitness and movement a long time. I want to hear a short version of how you got into this space and what that's taught you so far.
Okay. So the space, a little bit of context, like Missy says, a long time. So yeah, that's since the late 1900s. Um, literally, I hate to say it, but I started in fitness when I was little, when I was like 11 or 12. Started lifting weights because I was literally living the like bully on the playground thing, and I didn't want to get pushed around anymore. Um, which is I mean, it's a, it's a made for after school television movie, if anything else. But I got into fitness, stayed with it. I moved halfway across the country in 1991 to take a job at a gym. I had just been certified as a trainer, my very first certification. And it was the very first gym I ever worked at. So it was this massive transition. Like, all right, I'm leaving where I grew up. I've been on the East Coast for my entire life. It was 20, I don't know, 22, 23, something. Moved, started this job. And from the very beginning, like we talked about before, it was like, I want to be able to, it was almost like I want to be able to help people, but I don't want to be in a situation where I can't help someone. So I kind of look back on it as my, like, turn myself into a fitness Swiss Army knife stage. Like, so I started just taking certifications. I started chasing things. And I just wanted more. Like, I didn't care who it, like, so it was the absolute opposite of refining your audience. It was like, I'm going to help everybody. But at the time, like, if you were really into the game, if you were really into the industry, like, that was kind of the way to go. Like, keep educating, keep educating. Don't just like take one and sit on your laurels and decide that, like, 6 months of education repeated 20 times is 10 years of experience. It's like the math doesn't math. So I kept following it out. I got in clubs. I finally got out of clubs, started working for myself. And then I get into, boy, like mindset coaching, which was super fascinating. And then through mindset coaching, I met our friends, Matt Kathy, and got into sort of applied neurology, which is how you and I kind of cross paths. So it's been an ongoing, just like lifelong learning. But the same foundational piece exists. It's like I don't ever want to find myself in a situation where I don't have like, oh, I have that in my toolbox. Let me just and like to this point now, like where I spent the last, I don't know, 3 some odd years in kind of heavily involved in the neuromechanical, neurophysio worlds. It's one of maybe 3 experiences educationally that were just like putting the glasses on and going, whoa, I had no idea. And it just changes the perspective on everything. And it's been like, I mean, people call it neuro like magic, but it has really been kind of magical. Like, gosh, I mean, having done this for so long, if I had this information 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the impact that I could have made on so many other people is like exponential. So part of me is like, crap. But the other part of me is like, look, I have this now, and going forwards, I have this lens now that I can look through the entire world. So I do sort of feel at this point like anybody that's in front of me, I do kind of have a toolbox that I can open up and be like, okay, what do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is a small moment in your life that has changed everything from when you were younger to middle or now? What's one of those, wow, I'm so surprised that that changed everything for me? Like this kind of learning the neuro in the last 3 years type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, learning the neuro. I think probably the first one was making the decision to move from Massachusetts to Illinois. I mean, I was out of school. I was working 2 jobs. I initially thought that I was going to come out and work with my uncle, who was in like hotels and hospitality and hotel management and stuff. And like that was the plan. And then I got into this personal training certification out east, and I was just, this is my thing. Now,
Mm.
granted, I've been like lifting up, moving things since I was like 11 or 12, and my father was an antiques dealer. So as soon as he was like, "Oh, you want to lift weights, son? Here, come lift this." I was like, okay, so, but I mean, I don't know. I think the deciding to move, and I came out to visit my mom. Actually, my folks had split up about 90, 91. My folks had split up. My mom was in Illinois, and I hadn't seen her in a few months. I was like, why don't I just drive out? What are those nutball 23-year-old ideas? Let's just drive 18 hours. But she was working. So I went to this gym because I wanted to find a place that I could get some workouts in during the day while she was working. And I found this gym where at the time it was where the Bulls used to practice. I'm like, well, I got to go to that one. And during the course of just the tour, the guy who was giving me the tour was like, so what do you do? I said, well, actually, I just got certified to be a trainer. He said, are you looking for a job? I was like, well, and I'm thinking inside my inner voice, like, am I looking for a job at the gym where the Bulls train? No, of course not. Yeah. Um, and like, that was just a unexpected change of direction. Like, I came out to visit my mom, and I was maybe going to go see her brother because her brother was maybe going to give me a job at a hotel in downtown Chicago. And then I go to work out and I take a tour, and suddenly I have, like, within 24 hours, I have a job offer to come out and work in this gym. It's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. But it really wasn't any like significant hesitation either. It was like, yeah, absolutely, I want to do this.
Yeah, so you said yes and you did
I,
it.
he said, do you have a resume? I said, I can get you one. I drove to my mom's office. I typed up a resume, copied it off on some nicer paper, drove it back down and dropped it off. I got a phone call the next day from the guy who was the fitness manager. He's like, hey, I've got your information here. I'd love to talk to you. I was like, yeah, great. When? He's like, how about in an hour? I'm like, awesome. So I drove down and talked to him, and within 45 minutes, he'd offered me a job, and I went back to the East Coast and kind of broke my lease and got out of my life and quit my jobs and started life all over again. So,
Wow.
and at that gym, like, I met the woman who would eventually be my wife and the mother of my kids, and like, so much of my education happened within this framework of that facility, because I mean, as I got to move up in that gym, I had opportunities to learn more and, you know, bring people in and have people host certifications, and I thought that everybody wanted to level up, right? Everybody wants to level up. So I would bring in like big groups or whatever and be like, you know, we have 7 spots for trainers to come in and get certified for free. And this was a teaching moment, because I was like, oh, is everybody interested in learning more? And you get like 3 people who are like, yeah, okay, cool. And then a couple of people are like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, this is a $600 certification that you don't have to go anywhere for. It's free. Like, okay. You know, this is why in this sort of strength fitness industry, people don't last that long.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know about now. I don't
Yeah,
have data and
interesting.
stats now.
So what's the thing about the fitness industry that irritates you the most?
The internet ruined the fitness industry. The thing that drives me the most crazy is that, as a fitness dinosaur myself, when we got certified, when we were qualifying for a credential, we had to show what we knew. And as soon as the internet was available, that very much ceased to be a requirement. So you could just get a book, read the book, take an online test. If you got 70 or better, congratulations, you are a certified whatever. And I was like, well, wait a second. That kind of means that if you could study a book, take a test, get 70% and be a C student, any 8th grader with study skills could be a trainer. To me, that's a problem, because you're relying on this person to understand how you move and what you're having problems with. If that person has never laid eyes on you, they've never spoken with a person, that was the thing that
for a lot
that's
of
a big
people,
problem.
yeah.
I mean, that was the thing that made me the most bananas.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I think probably the closest thing we have to it now is like when you get into the medical community, and whoever, like, you have to get a scan or something, and it's like they're not really paying too much attention to the patient, but they're really looking at the scan. But the scan isn't necessarily telling the story of the patient. You know, it's like we work so much in the nervous system. It's kind of like what's happening over here, like this mechanical thing that might be the same place that this person is feeling pain, might have something to do with it. Probably not, but might have something to do with it. Like, I had a client go in with who had knee pain. We solved her knee pain. She went in to get a scope, or not a scope, but a scan, an MRI, just to see what was going on. And the guy looked on a day that she had like a 0 to 1 pain. He's like, oh yeah, you got a partially torn meniscus. You might need knee surgery. You might need a knee replacement. And she's looking at him like, but it doesn't really hurt. Not interested. You know, it's like, we're going to look at data. And it's nice that you came in to help watch me read your scan, but that just drives me crazy. It's like the capacity, or the fact that we're allowing it to be so impersonal, when, I mean, and this is just maybe you, me, us, the small community that wants this thing to be relational and not transactional, it's so hard to watch it. And there's not anything that's going to be done about it, like from the training side. Like nobody's going to go backwards. And that was one of the things that I really appreciated about the Neuro course, like with you and with Matt and Kathy. And it's like you have this opportunity to really be face to face with someone and understand what you're doing, understand how the system works before you just kind of like, okay, page 97, cranial nerve 11. Okay. But if you're just reading it and you know where it is and you know what it does, it's like, well, that's good. But what does it look like on a person when it works, when it doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the whole the whole thing is at the on the person.
yeah,
The whole point. It's such a wild thing to watch. And I'm like the jokester that's like, back in my day, I had to walk uphill in the snow both ways to get these certs and demonstrate
yes,
my skills in front of people and then get graded. Like,
right.
it's a totally different world now. And I see what you're saying. It is kind of scary. So, what's your advice to someone looking for a movement coach, a personal trainer, a nutrition coach? Like, what's the one thing that they really need to ask when they're searching for the right person for them?
God, that's such a great question because there's so many options at this point. But I think the thing that will start to separate people, and it's funny because we sort of joke in the fitness industry about like, nobody cares what your certification is. They just care about how you are with them. They care that you show up. They care that you're consistent, and those things are important. But because what's available as far as education is so typically rudimentary, there's no one really educating the consumer. And and I think that's one of the, I mean, Fulton's kind of all the way around. Like that's one of the things that made you so valuable online. And the other movement coaches that are sort of in that same is like you're educating the potential consumer to say, if I go look for a trainer and they don't really know anything about how to maybe integrate my nervous system and my body, like, do they know that my eyes and my ears have a lot to do with whether or not I can stand up and walk
Hmm.
straight? Or are they just going to be like, okay, let's just go lift some weights? I think it ends up kind of being indirect, but they have to know what to look for, and I think that's really hard. So, I mean, as far as the consumer is concerned, this is maybe not speaking to your audience, but as far as the consumer is concerned, look at who you're following on online. Look at who you're following on Instagram. Look at who you find to be really educational and inspirational, and take a look at like why those things are. What speaks to you about that person? Then, if you're going to look for a movement person, look for those things in that person. Develop a couple of questions that are just like, what do you know about this? What do you know about integrating these things? What do you know if I
Hmm.
came to you if I came to you with a knee pain or I came to you with a migraine, what would we do that day? Ask
Yeah,
ask
that's great.
very
Kind of just
specific questions.
interview, like
Yeah,
interviewing. Hey, we were
yeah,
supposed to train today. I got a migraine. What would we do?
right.
It's
And I
really
think and I think
valuable.
don't be afraid to interview. Like don't be afraid to ask questions about the person that you're going to work with.
Yeah,
Because if you're sitting back like, well, I don't want to ask that, you have to ask that.
this is a
And
relationship. Yeah.
it's a relationship. It's like the right person's going to answer your question and be honest. And if they don't know and they're honest, they're still going to answer your question and be like, you know what? I don't really know. But I can find out if that's
Hmm.
of value to you.
Like, wow, in 20 years, I've never heard of that. So let me ask a couple people. I'll get back to you, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. Now that you said the internet, would you say the internet changed fitness?
The internet broke fitness.
The
It,
internet
it,
broke
it
fitness.
broke, it basically broke personal training.
I want to say my irritating thing now, my ask my own question, because when you say that, I'm thinking, what's my most irritating thing? And I think it's that nowadays, if you are not comp if you don't have a grasp on adapting to the internet, you are now like dust in the wind. Like you're just there are incredible geniuses out in this world that don't have a following or don't have the app or any like,
Yeah.
you know, like Christopher Walken doesn't have a phone. You know, it's like there's a lot of people that have amazing skill sets that don't get to thrive
Yeah.
because
Wow.
they don't know how to film. They don't want to. And they
That's
shouldn't
true.
have to.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like we're movement people and now all of a sudden we've had to become editors, content creators, filmers, script writers, lighting gurus, answering all the questions to all the it's like that's not fair. I didn't sign up for
Yeah.
all of this. I
Right.
personally, Missy, happen to love it, but that is not the norm.
That is true.
We didn't sign up for
That is
all
true.
this. We signed up to work with people and watch them move and live pain free and do all the things. So, I really that felt really good to say is like there's a lot of amazing people without followers and a lot of not amazing people with a lot of followers.
Yeah.
So, to wrap up,
Yeah.
if you could write a letter to yourself at your lowest point in your life, what would that first line say?
Breathe. And then I think don't believe everything you think.
Don't believe everything you think.
Yeah. I used this example with my kids when they were growing up, and I said, listen, let me give you an example. You go to school on Friday. You sit down with your teacher. Your teacher says, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think up in your head a really like emotionally anxiety producing story that can fit on about 3 paragraphs. I just want you to write it down. Okay, sure. 6 minutes later, you got your story? Yes. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that story home and I want you to read it and I want you to agonize over it all weekend. And you're going to look at your teacher like, well, that's dumb. It's not even real. It's like, well, right, exactly. But that's kind of a microcosm of what we do to ourselves. Like we make up stuff that we think is going to happen or isn't going to happen, and we agonize over it, and we get ourselves all wrapped up, and we tell ourselves the story that this is going to happen, and it's going to go sideways, and she's not going to like me, and I'm going to fail, and we spend all this time and energy just like but it's not real. Like we made it up. So that little voice that's in your head that's saying, bah, 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 it's not really your own inner voice. That's some other voice, and you have to like, shut up, Marty. Not interested. Thanks for your input. I know you're trying to protect me, but I don't need to hear it right now. So don't believe everything you think. Separate that inner voice that's telling you you can't, you shouldn't, you're not gonna, from your actual voice. Give it a name and tell it to shut the heck up. It works.
I love that so much. It's so see, I knew I liked you. I do the same thing. I'll say Tiffany, like thank you, Tiffany, for that.
Right.
I thank you for sharing. And now I'm gonna go do what I said I would. That's aligned with my core values to make a difference in this world while you're over there yapping away, right?
Right.
You never get rid of Marty or Tiffany.
Oh no.
You just learn to befriend them and the length of time that they irritate you gets shorter, but
Yeah.
they're always there.
Yeah. With the other thing, you come to an understanding eventually that they're actually trying to help you. Like they're trying to protect you from all of the available things that might go wrong. The problem is they're super, super creative. And they can think of 97 and a half things that are going to go wrong on a Tuesday. But, that's their job. They're the creative department. And you can just say, like, right, Tiffany, thank you very much for your ideas. I really appreciate it. We're on a different topic right now, though. So could you wrap it up and
Wrap it up.
collate my copies?
I love that so much. It's so valuable. Thank you so much for your time today. It was
Oh,
so
thanks for
good to
having me. This is
see
fun.
you. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for contributing to my community. So if anyone has more questions or is interested in your services or what you provide or what you do, how do we find you?
If they're looking for me on Instagram, I'm just at Coach Andrew Eaton. Pretty simple. And if they wanted to look for my knee pain product, it's just kneepainpro.com. That's out there.
kneepainpro.com. Okay, awesome.
Kneepainpro.com.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's out there.
great URL. Geez, good job for you. Your domain.
Thanks.
It's amazing. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thanks
if
so
you
much,
guys have
Missy.
any questions for Andrew, he's so nice. You can reach out him directly. Go check out his knee. I know what his program entails, and let me tell you, he needs to charge like 5 times more than he is. So if you have knee pain, like actually go buy that before he does raise his prices
Right.
because it's a really, really good product.
So get
All
there in the
right.
next 15 minutes, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see you on the interwebs. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Miss.